Hey y'all, it's Kate from the Literary Apothecary, and today I'm going to be talking about Jade City by Fonda Lee. I absolutely loved this book so much. This is the first book in the Greenbone saga, and I absolutely loved it so much. In Jade City, this is like an Asian mafia type of book that takes place in this fantastical world where the gem Jade gives them extra abilities, basically magic powers, and it's so exciting. To me, it felt like I was reading a historical fiction book with a little bit of magic and fantasy put in. I thought it was a great balance of like more reality type of writing mixed in with fantasy and magic, and it was just so much fun to read. And so basically in Jade City we have this, mafia type of world in an Asian kind of culture where we have these, big families that rule the town and the cities, and they're warring against each other for, years and years and years. Everyone knows about these two big families that rule the city, and they're kind of vying for power of the city, and we go through this struggle throughout the book. And I just absolutely loved this book so much. It started off slow for me. My ratings kind of increased as I got through the book. It went from like a 3.5 to a 4 to a 4.5, but then that ending nailed it as a 5 for me. It was so good. The two characters that I could relate to the most, I think, were Hilo and Shay, and I will get to that in a moment because this is still the spoiler-free part. But I just loved Jade City so much. I can't wait to go into Jade War, which is book 2 in the Greenbone saga. I'll be reading that in May as a shelf space buddy read, and I can't wait to see what happens with this story. I was just totally enthralled through the whole story. I was gripped. Now, that's enough I can say without spoilers. Now let's go into spoilers. So, in Jade City, we get Peak Clan, which is our main protagonist's family. We get Hilo and Lan and Shay and Andon and their grandfather, who used to be the head of the clan. And Andy is kind of adopted into their family, but everyone just treats him as he's part of the family, a blood family. And Shay's backstory is that she didn't want to become part of this clan. She didn't want to deal with that business, so she left the city and fell in love with an outsider, and now she's returning to the city because that relationship completely fell apart. Lan is now the head of the clan, and we see his struggle because of trying to lead this clan with this legacy and dealing with the rival families, but also dealing with his brother Hilo, who is kind of this hot-headed warrior type of character. And then about in the middle to 3/4 through the book, Lan is murdered by basically a teenager that was hired by the other family, and now the No Peak Clan and that family have to figure out how to move on after Lan's death. They're figuring out how Lan died, who killed him, what happened, and how now Hilo is taken over as the head of the family, and he has to kind of make that adjustment from being the warrior leader to being the all-around leader. And Shay is brought into the family to become the weatherman, which is like their main businessman. And I just loved seeing that family dynamic and seeing them trying to figure all this out. Andon is still in school, but he is now brought into this family business at the end of the book, and he's got this big responsibility. Hilo is going to go to the rival family's main warrior leader and essentially kind of turn himself over, but like the plan that's revealed to us through the story is that it's kind of a trick. So he goes and he fights all of these men and acts like he's, giving himself over to them. And just when they think he's at his weakest, most desperate, and he's defeated, Andon comes in and takes all of Hilo's jade and builds up this extraordinary power that no one has ever seen before, and fights off all these men, and Hilo is saved. And it kind of leaves us at these kind of mini cliffhangers, I guess. People say they're like big cliffhangers. For me, they were just like, oh yeah, I just assumed that's going to come out in book 2. But so we get the kid that killed Lan. He returns to Lan's grave. We learn that Hilo has buried Lan with all of his jade instead of taking it and doing something else with it. So we get this kid that killed Lan. He returns to Lan's grave, and it hints that he's going to essentially dig up Lan's grave to get the jade that he supposedly thinks he is given. So in this fantasy world, when a warrior kills another warrior, the tradition is that they take their jade and add it onto their own jade, and that gives them extra power and extra abilities. And so this kid thinks, well, I technically killed Lan, so I can take his jade. At first, he fled the scene before he realized that Lan was even dead. Him and his buddy were shooting at Lan, and Lan was hyped up on this drug that is supposed to make them be able to absorb the jade powers easier. And Lan kind of falls into the river and drowns. So it's like a little bit up in the air who should actually take the, credit for Lan's death. But this kid, Barrow, thinks that because he was there and he was shooting at Lan and he was the last person to see Lan alive, he killed Lan, and so he thinks he is, due that jade. But he fled the scene before he could take it, before he even knew that Lan was dead. So that part was a little bit left in the air. That was one of those things where I just assumed that we'll get into more of that in the beginning of book 2, but we'll see how that goes. And then there's another part where, at the end, where the old weatherman, who turns out to be a traitor to the family, Doru, sent Shay, the new weatherman, a letter saying, like, you need to make plans to get out of this city on your own without the help of your brother, Hilo. No one should know where you're going or how you're going to get out. You need to make these plans now before it's too late. And we don't really know whether Shay follows through on that or what, so that's kind of left up in the air too. But I really, really, really enjoyed Jade City more than I thought I was going to. I'm like, I'm kind of a fan of like the mafia type, but not like a huge fan. If it's a good story and there's good characters, I can enjoy it. And I thought that Jade City really had that well. The one thing that I would like to see more of in this is that we kind of are thrown into this Jade world where Jade gives them magical powers, but it's not really explained at all how they get these powers, how the Jade works. We just kind of see it work in a sense, and so I would have liked to have seen that more, but I kind of just put up with it because I was enjoying this book so much. Jade City, 5 out of 5 stars. I can't say enough good things about this book, and Fonda Lee's writing was just spot on for the style she was going after. It was so good. I loved it so much, and I can't wait to read Jade War in May and see what happens with this family and this city and all of the politics. I can't say enough about it. But that's my review for Jade City, 5 out of 5 stars. Can't wait for book 2. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of Jade City in the comments. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. Come over to our Discord and talk to you about it with me. Of course, as always, the links for my Discord and my Patreon are in the description. Keep reading, and I love you all to the moon and back.